Thank you guys for tuning in to another recap show of the Sit Down Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. We're live from our in-home studios, and yeah, that was a interesting game to digest. That was an interesting game to digest on so many levels. I have a lot that I have to say, a lot that I want to say, and I'm sure you guys have a lot that you want to say, and that's what we do this for, right? No matter what time of day it is, we're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Tonight was a lot of ugly. We'll try to find some bright spots to discuss things. As always, I'm going to ask that you guys drop your questions down below, drop your grievances down below. If you guys just want to yell into the chat section, that is what we do this for. I feel like this is going to be one of our long ones. I really do. Um, that being said, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. Daniel,
Mm.
the Bengals lost tonight in a pivotal matchup that virtually knocks them out of contention for the AFC North, right? It's an uphill climb if that was, and it's probably wishful thinking at this point. But even more so, Joe Burrow went down with an injury. And you got to wonder, was this an injury that was pre-existing? But we're not going to speculate on that right now. We're just going to just discuss the facts. The Bengals lost their starting quarterback. The Bengals the Bengals team seemed like they had the life taken out of them when Joe Burrow went down. And once again, the offense continued to stall out, of course. The defense struggled in a lot of spots. There were some phantom calls out there. There was just a lot to unpack with this game. I certainly have a lot to get off my chest, a lot of things that I want to talk about. But Daniel, what are your just initial thoughts from losing Burrow to the Bengals' huge loss to the Ravens? Just everything in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. I mean, to be completely blunt, this shit sucks. And the reason why I say that is, especially once again, we appreciate all you guys tuning in. Drop your comments down below, whatever you guys are feeling. But it just sucks because there were moments, and I actually believe I tweeted this out, like right as that drive was going on. I was like, that was one of the more well put together drives I've seen the Bengals run this year. And that's the part that sucks because we were clamoring from the hilltops, right? On Wednesday State of the Jungle, presented by First Star. We were saying, run the damn ball. That's why you lost to the Texans. That's why at the end of the game, you had a chance to win. Run the damn ball with Joe Mixon. And that one drive, man, it's almost like life, there's like as soon as there's a super high, it takes you all the way back down to reality. And that drive, man, was holy shit. They're running the ball with Mixon. Holy crap, you're getting Mixon out of the backfield. Holy crap, you're having design passes for Joe Mixon. You're getting Tanner Hudson involved. You're getting, everybody's getting involved, and you score the touchdown. You're right in this on the road, about to, turn over history, right? The Bengals are 0-16 in their last on the road primetime games. You're about to, change history. You're about to do it. Burrow goes down, and it all goes to shit, man. And that's the part that just sucks because it's like it was there. Like, regardless of whether T. Higgins was out, regardless whether Sam Hubbard was out, the defense wasn't playing great. It was there. And everything was still, regardless of you start off 0-2, regardless of you just lost to the Texans, prime time, it was there. And that's the part, like, genuinely, that sucks because you were down 7 points. You were right there. Yeah. And Burrow goes down, and man,
I want to address something really quickly before we can talk about the game. Let me just address this for you younger Bengals fans or people who have just become Bengals fans of the team. Stay with the team. The team still has a very, very bright future, regardless of tonight's hiccup, regardless of what the season might look like. This season, whatever the outcome of the season is, the Bengals team still has a very, very bright future. As long as Joe Burrow is quarterback and the pieces that they have on this team. I just want to encourage Bengals fans because, for us fans that have been, fans of the team for quite some time, you might look at it and, for a younger fan, they might not have experienced this. They might have just jumped on the Bengals bandwagon when the Bengals started being good and stuff like that. So they're not experiencing this level of frustration or things that they can't control. I'm just gonna say, just stick with this team. Again, the future is still extremely bright, and we're still excited about everything that is to come. That is what I will say, because I know that there are a lot of people that are probably frustrated, up in arms, and saying, "Wow, maybe this isn't the team." And and for you older Bengals fans who've been here for quite some time, we want, right. New we want new blood in this fan base. We want people to become fans of the Bengals. That is how we continue to spread from generation to generation to generation with new fandom. So I'll never turn away new Bengals fans, regardless if they've been here with us through the sucky times or not. I'm just saying it's one of those things where I genuinely believe this team does have a bright future, and I'm really curious to see what how that all might play out. But I also want to discuss a notion that I saw out there today from people in the media that was just really disgusting. I'll be honest, insinuating that Logan Wilson was a dirty player or blaming him for the injuries. I can assure you, I had an awesome time to sit down and talk with Logan Wilson at length at the First Star Logistics Draft Day party, and that guy is a class act. He approaches the game as a very workmanlike. His intention was not to go out there to hurt Lamar Jackson. His intention was not to go out there and injure Mark Andrews. His intention wasn't to go out there and injure
Odell
Beckham on that tackle. That is a high effort guy making a high effort play. So shame on a lot of those analysts out there that were insinuating it was anything but that. This is not the Vontaze Burficts of the world. That is not type of player that Logan Wilson is, Jermaine Pratt is, or any of the backers on the Bengals. Not how they go about their business. So I just thought it was very, very disgusting just to see people insinuating that. At last I checked, the drop hip tackle, right? That is still a legal play in the National Football League. Until they illegalize it, right? That is a play that we see being used all around the National Football League. So seeing people talk about that, man, it was kind of just very disheartening until the league, bans that play. Let's stop calling players dirty for a play that's been in the league for however long it's been, right? That's just asinine and insane. So do better. Injuries are the unfortunate part of the sport. They're the unfortunate part of the sport. Nobody goes out there with the intention to hurt a player, though. So let's be better about that. But keeping the conversation rolling, this was tough, man, because you felt like we all felt like this was a game in which the Bengals were going to start to right the ship, and obviously beat get a win in their division, if you will. That didn't happen tonight. That didn't happen. Bengals fell on their face a little bit. I will say Jake Browning showed some bright spots.
Yes.
That was very encouraging to see from the back quarterback position. Obviously, he's no Joe Burrow, but it was still it's still, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I guess I'll open it up to you.
Yeah.
Do you think, let's say in a perfect world, Joe Burrow's healthy and Joe Burrow is able to come back this season? Do you think the Bengals have a shot at making a wild card push? Do you think that they can? I mean, it just seems like everything that has went wrong for this team has went wrong this season, from T. Higgins' injury to Joe Burrow being hurt before the season to, it just seems like one thing after the other. They lost Cam Taylor-Britt tonight. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, and that's the one thing. I'm not losing hope, and the reason why is, like, I'm going to go back and look at recent years and see, all right, what has been the wild card. But I look at the schedule, to be completely honest, I'm not going to say it's super easy, but you still have winnable games on there. And the only way you can go is up from here, right? You're 0-3 in the division. You faced the Ravens twice. You lost the Browns, but I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, still, you faced the Steelers twice. You got the Colts still on there. Like, you still have winnable games. I understand you play the Chiefs, but you play the Vikings with Josh Dobbs. You play the Browns again without Deshaun Watson at the end of the season. It's just going to be different for Bengals fans because it's going to be, you didn't want to be in a position where that week 18 game mattered, and now it does. Now it does. But like I said, I'm not losing hope. I'm looking at last year, right? The Miami Dolphins made it. They were 9-8. The Jacksonville Jaguars made it. They were 9-8. The year before, the Pittsburgh Steelers made it. They were 9-7. The Colts, were right on the cusp, 9-8. So that means you've got to go 4-3 in your next 7 games. And I still think there's a chance, right? 4-3, respectfully. With what we saw to Jake Browning too, it's not like the Pittsburgh Steelers next week are some unbeatable team. They're a 6-3 football team who's played above expectations. They're a 6-3 football team whose offense ranks 27th in the NFL. So I'm looking at it. You still have a chance. 4-3 is not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not saying it's super likely, but you got the Steelers, Colts, Jaguars, Vikings, Browns. If Joe Burrow comes back, who's to say that game on, New Year's Eve against the Chiefs?
I don't even know if we know if he's going to miss any time yet. Just now, I know people are speculating that and stuff like that. We'll wait and obviously we'll see what comes of everything. But
4-3, is it possible?
The Bengals have a tough slate. They had a tough slate with Joe Burrow. We have even tougher slate without him potentially, depending on what happens. It's not going to be a walk in the park no matter which way we slice it, right? I mean, it's one of those things where they need 9 out there,
yes,
but they want to have a legitimate shot and compete. This is still a team that should be fighting. This is still a team that it has enough talent to make noise. But let this be, let this be, I guess, enlightening to the Bengals organization. Joe Burrow's injury aside, the pass rush, needs to get better. We saw some bright spots from Myles Murphy today. He was able to get pressure. We saw some bright spots even from Joseph Asai, I would say.
Yeah.
But you just need more juice there. They were able to effectively rush the passer in spots, but it's something you want to see on a consistent level because if Trey Hendrickson was to go down, right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, he was able to play in this game, right? But if Trey Hendrickson was to go down, where would they get that pass rush from?
Yeah.
And that's a spot that needs to be addressed in the offseason because you got to realize, and this is where I think that we sort of failed this defense a little bit in the offseason. If you know you're going to have a younger secondary like a Jordan Battle, who, by the way, was in on a lot of plays.
12
tonight.
tackles, led the team.
There we go. And I think Nick Scott had found himself on the bench. If you know you're going to have a young secondary, what's the easiest way to help that secondary? Pass rush. The pass rush alleviates a lot for that secondary, right? So that's something that needs to be addressed in the off season. I agree with you guys 100%. Cordell Volson, it was a problem tonight. He is a problem. He hasn't had a great year. It's something that we need to see improve for sure. But Dean, is there anything else you want to add before we get to some people's questions?
About this game? I mean, listen, I think the huge thing we have to talk about, like you said, Jordan Battle, we can't just let that slide. 12, he played great. And obviously he had a couple lapses in coverage, but regardless, it was the tackling inside the box. He made some huge plays, third down stops. I just want to give props, especially props to you. You called it, but at the same time, like, Bengals, you guys got a good future tandem at safety.
Yeah.
So props to that. Looking at the rest of the defense, like I said, Myles Murphy showed some bright spots. The rest of the defense, it was kind of just a rough game. I love that they're getting the tight ends more involved. That's why
Tanner Hudson, man.
Like getting those guys involved. Tanner Hudson looked great. Even Trent Irwin looked great.
Somebody asked Malik, what is AJ McCarron's role on this team? If not to give us experience under center, if Joey B goes down, not saying Joe B is even out, but why is AJ here? It's for exactly that, right? For a situation in which they were to lose Joe Burrow. You want to have a guy that has veteran experience, who has played in the league. And it doesn't hurt that he was the Bengals draft pick, right? AJ McCarron is I believe he's the emergency quarterback on the team. So he's not active, but he's active in the sense that if all two of the two quarterbacks were to go down, he would then be active and he would play. But I think that if AJ McCarron was thrusted into a role in which he had to play for us, he's been here for a couple of weeks now. I'm sure he knows the playbook at this point in time. I'm sure he could, but it's definitely not an ideal spot you want to be in for sure. But Daniel, if you guys could do us a favor before we get to some of the questions, please drop your questions. If you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, please, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys for spending your time with us, this time of night, especially after a rough loss. So with that being said, Daniel, let's get to some questions. Unless there was something you want to add.
No, the last thing I just want to add, like you said, you need to, and especially for the Bengals front office, use this as a learning lesson. Like you said, we can't stress this enough, man. Like you look at some of these other teams, their backup quarterbacks. Like we said this from day one. We said this after Burrow's injury. We said this even after his appendix so many times, guys. Get a backup quarterback. Like go out there, get Brandon Allen. Go out there, get somebody. Like you look at the Cardinals, what they did with Josh Dobbs. Go out there, use this as a learning lesson. But let's get to some of the questions. Once again, if you guys have any questions, drop them down below. Seagriff said, Battle definitely won the starting job, right?
Well, I mean, I would have to think so. He showed much more production than Nick Scott has in all his time starting. So I definitely think he had to. I mean, I think he would. I think the only thing that would have solidified it. Remember when he had that one interception where he could have had. I believe it was a pass interference, and it was something else, illegal contact or something like that. Anyway, that would have negated it, but still, that's a spot where you want to see him come down with it.
But Nicholas Mercier, and this is one we've got to address because everybody's gonna be talking about it, right? Malik, if we miss the playoffs, will Zach Taylor be fired?
No, Zach won't be fired. I mean, this is a spot in which this is a coach who took this team to the Super Bowl, regardless of how big of a hand he had in it or not. He has been a culture builder in that sense, in terms of being able to construct a roster that is able to compete at the highest level. So it's been so long since the Bengals had that, right? Probably since like the 80s. Obviously, Marvin Lewis had built some pretty good rosters, but those rosters weren't even able to win a playoff game. And that could be in large part due to who the quarterback was or even the circumstances surrounding it. However, Mike Brown is not going to fire Zach Taylor. I think what we might be looking at here is, I think you might be looking at just them being able to look themselves and reevaluate themselves in the mirror and say, okay, this is a spot. Maybe we're not the smartest people in the room. And that's something that we've always said. Hey, sometimes they think that the smartest cooks in the room. Like they didn't think the tight end position was that big of a need. And that's why you had to, you bring in a guy like Tanner Hudson after the Irv Smith thing didn't work out as much as you would have wanted it to. So no, I don't envision a world in which Zach Taylor gets fired. I also don't envision a world in which any of our coordinators are future head coaches this year. I think Lou's opportunity to become a head coach passed. I keep saying that. I don't see the league banging down his door to become a head coach because, everybody is going to want those hot, sexy names, whether it be an offensive coordinator. Offensive-minded coaches are what sells right now. And if you're a young defensive coordinator and a hot name, you have to be twice as good, or you have to know people. And Lou doesn't really have all those stuff going for him, to be honest with you. And he's an older defensive coordinator. I don't really believe that he's going to get an opportunity. And if he does, it's going to be a long time in the future. Somebody said Lou is like Mike Zimmer all over again. 100%. I can 100% see that. It's going to be one of those things where, what Mike Zimmer was the Bengals defense coordinator for 7 years, seven years, something like that. It took him that long to become a head coach. So it's one of those things where yeah, that's just my thought.
We had somebody, Nathan Falk, he said, would you consider moving on from Tobin, or is his non-aggressive strategy coming from higher up? Let me just say first off, Duke Tobin has been the director of player personnel since 1999. 1999, let me guess, that's 25 years. It's not going to happen, but Malik, do you think that they should consider moving on?
At this point, Duke Tobin's like a family member. All right, he's forever entrenched into this organization, to this front office. He's not going anywhere. Listen, Mike Brown didn't even want to fire Marvin Lewis, like that. That's not happening. But Duke Tobin has helped build some rosters here. He's not to blame for the performance on the field, right? You can only roster it. I think that is just a Bengals philosophy as a whole. I think that they believe in drafting, developing, and retaining their guys at its core. That's what I think they do. They have shown their ability to go outside the box, and they have made changes through the years, but it's still a bit of a ways to go. I feel like the last, they compete in free agency, right? They draft. They just need to get more aggressive in the trade market, especially when you have a need on the team to help. But I don't think we need to be drastic and fire somebody after a loss against the Baltimore Ravens. It's just not the Bengals' MO. We've been through a gazillion one of these with Marvin Lewis, where we've been blown out on prime time and we just didn't look good on prime time. The Bengals just need to seriously look at themselves in the mirror and just make a little bit of adjustments to their philosophy. And that's not saying you just have to make trades just to make trades, right? But be aggressive when you know that you're on the cusp of something. For me, again, I'm not putting this loss on Duke Tobin. You can't even put this loss in part on the coaching staff right now because I'm not blaming Zach because it's like, all right, you lost your starting quarterback. The entire team was down after that. It was so much that was working against your team, right, at that point in time. So it's hard to find a place to blame. But over the weeks, before all this, I'll say it's Zach Taylor and his and company and Brian Callahan have left a lot to be desired from an offensive standpoint. I have been anything but satisfied. And to me, they're, you're listening to the broadcast and you listen to these guys talk about, oh, wow, the Bengals were able to find the run game today. And it's like, oh, well, they've never, that's why I was trying to tell people the notion of the Bengals not being able to run the ball is false. It was a thing of they just would just go away from it. They would get movement on the running game. Joe Mixon was averaging 7 yards a carry today. 7 yards a carry today. Like, you just go away from that. And that's something that, again, Joe Mixon has been one of our most consistent players this year, I would say. You have to continue to feed that guy. And that's all that the people kept screaming about. Oh, my God, that this offense, the running game is starting to find itself today. It's like the same way you alleviate. Why is Joe – listen, I know Joe Burrow's light years and days better than what's his face? Jake Browning. But why do you treat them so differently, right? Think about it. Joe Burrow goes out the game. You start running the ball with the running back. And the idea behind running the ball with the running back is to protect Jake Browning and to make his life, meaning Jake Browning's life, a lot easier. So why doesn't the same notion stand for your starting quarterback? Why is it if Joe Burrow's in there, let's drop back multiple times a game and have the run-pass ratio so discombobulated? It's one of those things where the philosophy is so ass backwards. If Joe Burrow's in there, the mentality should still be to let's establish the run. But why is it, hey, let's establish the run once Joe Burrow's out the game? It's backwards as hell. And it's something that this coaching staff needs to get a handle on. That's just my thoughts.
So if you guys are tuning in with us, first off, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Drop your comments down below. But if you guys could just like this video and subscribe to our channel. We go live after every single Bengals game. We do live content throughout the week. But we've got a question from David Speakman. He said, how did this defense get so bad in one offseason? Really quickly, let me just tell you guys, how many turnovers did the Cincinnati Bengals have tonight? 0. And that's what we've been talking about on the show. This defense has never been an elite yardage defense. They've always had timely turnovers. We talked about this on Wednesday. When you have timely turnovers, you look at the Seahawks.
Hold on, let me just address something real quick.
Yeah.
So somebody's
saying,
you're good. They even ran under center today, 100%. And somebody says, who's to say Joe's not checking out of those out of these runs though? IH Prawn says that. That's where the head coach takes charge of this team and says, we're running the football. You still have full jurisdiction over the team. Like, there have been countless times, Zach Taylor makes play calls that the team obviously isn't the biggest fan of. Jamar Chase has voiced even in some post-game interviews where he's like, we need to take more shots deep down the field. And for me, the the run game is something that they need to establish, regardless if Joe Burrow likes it or not. It's something that needs to happen. To your point, when Jake Browning was in, they did go under center, 100%. So like, stop. Don't treat Jake Browning with kid gloves, right? Don't treat Jake Browning with kid gloves and say, hey, we're going to establish the run, and then let Joe Burrow run bonkers with this offense. That's just not conducive to anybody. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and just to make it very simple, you look at any other team, and we talked about this, you look at football in general. Run the ball and look at what happened tonight. You establish the run. It loads the box. You run end arounds. You force the defense to play on the edge. It confuses them. Play action works. Deep passes work. Levels concepts work. Running the football works in the NFL. It works.
You know, Zach, somebody said, he said Zach Taylor puts too much pressure on Joe. It's very similar to like, it's gonna be a funny analogy. It's like a girl dating a football player in high school, and he, she feels obligated to go to all of his games, right? She was obligated to go all of his games, and it's like, I really want to do this for myself. I really want to try out for the soccer team, but I feel obligated to go to your games because I'm going to miss it. And it's like, oh no, you can do those things, right? It's maybe that's a poor analogy to use, but I thought it was a good one when I first thought about it. At first, I guess it was wrong, but no, 100%. I do think that there is a little bit of too much pressure being put on him, even if it's not even a thing of they're putting it on him, but maybe just like sometimes he needs a little bit more direction from the coaching staff. Okay, maybe we really do need to really hand it off to the running back. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, the running game is so important, and that's part of the sucks is they were starting to get it going today, but even then they kind of went away from it. So we got a question from Frost Baby. He said, what's up with Cordell Volson? Overall, the offensive line. Let me just say this about the offensive line real quick. I thought that they had their bright moments, and something, if you guys are watching football games, understand that there's times like Orlando Brown, countless times, if you push the edge rusher behind the quarterback, you did your job. You did your job. That happened with Jake Browning. And I saw some people on social media say, well, Orlando Brown just got cooked. There was Odafe Owe went around him. Listen, the offensive lineman's job is to create a pocket for the quarterback. Then it's the quarterback's job to step up into the pocket, to maneuver the pocket, and to make it work. So understand, in football, if a quarterback has 3 seconds to throw, that's good. If he has 4 seconds to throw, that's great. If a rusher gets to the quarterback after coming all the way around, beats the edge rusher or the offensive tackle back in, that's not on the offensive tackle. So when you're criticizing players, especially like the offensive tackles, understand that if there's a sack after multiple seconds, that's not always on them. But Cordell Volson, the questions about him, how do you feel like he performed? Because he was a different story, in my opinion, than Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I think Cordell Volson is a young player still, and he's going through a lot of growing pains still. Here's my thoughts.
All right. This is actually a good question. We were talking about this. Bengals for life, and a couple other people saying, like, are we losing draft picks for the Bengals concealing Joe Burrow's injury? That's all I want to know. And overall, like, what's the importance of, putting a player's injury on the report?
I mean, there's so much involved. There are millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars on these games, to be quite honest with you, right? There's so much money being put on these games, and there's not even just the betting aspect, but just more so the overall just integrity aspect of it, right? It's important to Tyler Baker. That's completely fine. You can unsubscribe. It's okay that you don't like Daniel, my man. It's fine. You're not gonna. You're probably upset that the Bengals lost. It's completely fine. There are 1,000,000,001 Bengals shows out there and channels out there that you can watch, my man. I appreciate the time that you have given us, though. Good riddance. Anyway, yeah, that's just my thoughts. I lost my train of thought. That dude comments all the time and just completely just complains.
Yeah. We definitely had some questions. Dax Hill, Huday MD said Dax Hill hasn't done much last couple games. What's your thoughts on how Dax Hill's been performing?
I think Dax Hill's been playing great. I think he made some plays today. I don't know about him not having making plays. I think he's made a couple of plays.
Yeah.
Nasty flips, because you should know we read every comment here. Again, brother, I'm gonna address everything. I'm gonna talk to everybody. I don't run from some people who disagree or not disagree. We read the positive comments, we read the negative comments. I want to make sure everybody has a voice to be heard. If someone wants to complain and say, Malik, you suck, we'll talk about it. Like, it's fine. Like, I realized when I got into the business in 2014, this is what I was signing up for. So it's all good. But even more so, Massive Flips, I want to address your comment up there where you said, guys, it's not at the end of the world. Let's all relax. I think it's important to address the positives and the negatives, right? Like, of everything that has gone on. That's sort of why I created this platform, for people to start to voice themselves after the games, especially because I think it's important to talk about everything, kind of go through the motions, ebbs and flows together, and hopefully we all breathe a deep breath at the end of the day and continue to move forward. So that's just my thought process.
Yeah, C Griff 142 said, "How bad were the referees tonight?"
They were atrocious.
Yeah,
they were atrocious. That pass interference call was one of the worst I've seen, honestly.
Yeah, no, that was definitely bad. And Tribe Willis said, "You're still trying to defend the offensive line. You guys also have to understand the offensive line deserves some criticism, but." Look at the one thing that doesn't get talked about with this Bengals offensive line is what they do in the run game. Like, you're allowed to defend an offensive line if they're doing good stuff, and they did good stuff tonight.
Listen.
No, they did good stuff tonight. You're allowing Joe Mixon to have these holes, and they're looking good. So, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Here's what I'll say: it's not defending the offensive line, but you have to also understand, though, just as well as it's the coach's job to call plays for the receivers, for the quarterbacks to make life easier, it's also the coach's job to call plays to make the offensive line easier as well. Like that's also the point in the game that goes well, guys. And I'm sorry, no playbook does running out of shotgun through an entire game. Does that make sense for the offensive line? This is in college. In college, they spread everybody out and then they run out of shotgun all game. In the NFL and the National Football League, these guys are phenomenal athletes. In college, you're playing up against guys that, some might make it, some might not even ever, some have no business even on the football field, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to run under center and stuff like that. But like, let's just talk about it from just a logical standpoint. Running the ball out of shotgun is so not conducive to the offensive line. Staying in shotgun the entire game is not conducive to the offensive line. They have a saying when it comes to pass rushers, you have to earn the right to rush the passer. I believe, and this is just my philosophy, I believe that you have to earn the right to be in shotgun for X amount of plays. I believe you have to earn the defense's respect by running the ball under center and showing them different variations of your offense to make them think. That's what I believe. I do not believe. That's why no other offense in the league, probably outside of maybe the Chargers, even the Chargers probably line up under center more than the Bengals. But I think that the Bengals need to do more things to make their life easier. That's just my thoughts, us.
Yeah, and that's where you can run out of shotgun when you're doing this other stuff, which is why it sucks, because that one drive they put everything together. You can run out of it when you're doing these end arounds. You can run out of it when you're having the play before you are in the single back formation, when you are running under the center. So you've got to mix everything up. But I want to address Miles Murphy real quick. Bengals for Life said Miles Murphy was not a good pick. We've got to be patient. Like, you go back, I'll rewatch the film. We'll probably do a film review, but he had some good snaps today.
I just want to address something some more stuff.
No, you're good.
So Burrow 99 says, I like your positive message. I think you ain't looking at the bigger picture. You bringing up things that happened 2 years ago. I think this is I think this is over what I believe. I think you're referring to me responding to my friend Mike Renner on Twitter when he was talking about the Bengals offensive line. First and foremost, I do understand the bigger picture. I watched a lot of film on this team. I've covered this team every single week, do shows on the team. I have to understand the bigger picture, and I talk to people inside that building. I'll tell you this, man. When I addressed Mike Renner's tweet that he made about the offensive line, it was not me giving the offensive line a pass that they currently have, it was not me giving the offensive line that they currently have a pass. It's me just addressing that the quality of talent on the offensive line that they had the year they made the Super Bowl was levels worse than the offensive line they have right now. Just to give you an idea, I would say everybody on that starting offensive line the Super Bowl year outside of Jonah Williams is no longer in the National Football League. So when I made that statement, it was not to say the Bengals offensive line is fine. Furthermore, I'll even address it even further. I'm addressing the simple fact that even the Super Bowl year, what made the Bengals run so special, while they were able to rattle off that many games and make that incredible run that they did, was because they did start to run the ball under center. That was one of the biggest gripes. They were trying to find a way to run the ball more. And then they started running the ball under center a lot more, which opened up the entire offense to new plays and do things a little bit more creative. Somewhere along the lines, they lost themselves and they say, you know what? We love running out of shotgun. We love calling plays out of shotgun. So that's what we're going to go back to. What I've been hammering the table for the last couple of weeks on this show and on State of the Jungle is they should go back. They should stop trying to fight against the grain. They should go back to what made the offense tick, would help get them to where they wanted to go. And that was running the ball under center. That was being more deceptive, if you will, towards these defenses. But you're tipping your hand every single time you line up a shotgun.
Yeah. Real quick, apparently Mark Andrews potentially out for a year. John Harbaugh said, hope he gets better.
For sure.
Akil the Great, we already touched on this, but he said thoughts on national reporters implying Logan Wilson is the dirty player. Malik already talked about this. It's ridiculous. Logan, we met him, great dude, and just ridiculous. C. Griff was saying, what is the best way for this team to turn things around and salvage a playoff spot?
You said what's the best chance?
Or what's the best way? How do they go about it?
I mean, first and foremost, on offense, they've got to get more versatile. They got to stop this whole shotgun thing. They have to. It's killing them. They do that. I think that they give themselves a fighting chance. I think you sustain longer drives. I think you stop this 3-and-out BS and you give the defense more time to just rest on the sideline. That way they're not doubling the offense in plays. That's just my thought process. You got to control what you can control. What the Bengals can control right now is the plays that they call, right? And they're not doing the defense any favors, and they're not doing their offense any favors either.
Yeah. And that's where, like, you look at how you can salvage a season one game at a time. You got Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh, we've got to see how they play this week. But once again, I will keep saying it. That is a winnable game. That is 1,000% a winnable game. This goes to our next question from.
But it's also a tough game too.
1,000%. Yeah. And the next question, P. Crawley 513 said, "Is it me or did Browning look competent enough to win a couple games? He just needs experience." What'd you see out of Jake Browning?
Saw some positives. Nothing to that instill confidence, right? But yeah. I saw some positives. I showed that he can move the ball down the field when he runs with the one. So that's positive.
Yeah. We got a question from Rage Al Ghul. He said, what are the Bengals looking for in free agency next year? What should they be looking for?
3 tech help, edge rusher help, and even potentially another guard.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think defensive line is huge. You got to see how Miles Murphy develops, but for sure, 3 tech. Jim Gegner said, do you guys have any thoughts on the injury uptick tonight? Unfortunate circumstances of trying to get players' bodies ready in a short week. Cam Taylor-Britt, Andrews, Turner, Lamar, Hill, OBJ. Do you think that has to do with them playing in a short week, or is it kind of an anomaly?
I think that's one of the. There are a lot of people who hate Thursday Night Football for that exact reason, but the league wants to make more money. Their ultimate goal is to add another game. That's their ultimate goal, is to add another regular season game. They're not going to stop at 17 regular season games. Yeah. They're not going to stop there. That next bargaining agreement comes around, they're going to see if they can squeeze in another game to try. I mean, it's all about making money, right? So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, to your point, even look at the Black Friday game. They're trying everything, to make money. It's NFL. They understand what they're doing. Chad Walter asks, what can be changed to fix the defensive struggles with poor tackling? Let me just say, first off, Jordan Battle over Nick Scott was a step. You definitely saw there was a lot less poor tackling coming from the safeties. But poor tackling, how do you fix that for the Bengals?
I mean, that's something that should have been corrected in the offseason, right there. That's why they go through tackling drills and stuff. But yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, make sure you guys drop them down below. Is there any other takeaways that you had from? I know it's kind of hard to talk about today's game, but was there any other takeaways you had from today's game?
Yes, Tanner Hudson. Yeah, he's a guy that continues to emerge, but also I'll keep saying, keep feeding Mixon, man, until he gives you a reason not to. Keep feeding Mixon. That's why you bring him back. That's why you rework, because I know the Bengals don't like the term reworked his deal. This is the reason why you bring him back, right? And he's 27 years old. He's got a lot of tread left on the tires. He showed his ability to be an effective pass catcher out the backfield. Joe Burrow's check down was available the last couple of weeks. It was nice to see Jake Brown take that. It was nice to even see Joe Burrow get him involved before he went down with an injury. So keep using Joe Mixon as an outlet, because Joe Mixon can provide that relief. By the way, bravo Trent Irwin, man. That guy was making plays. And again, I'm calling for him to find more ways to get on the football field. But yeah, keep feeding Mixon. Keep trying to find ways to get the ball into Tanner Hudson's hands, and keep trying to find ways to get Trent Irwin the ball as well, too, man. Especially if teams are going to just stack Jamar Chase and make life hell on him as well. Until T. Higgins comes back, that's what I'd be focused on.
Nathan Falk said, if they're going to struggle tackling, would you prefer them to go more press coverage instead of sitting back? I've got 1 point. Also, during this game, the touchdown to Nelson Aguilar, I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but that's a play where, man, Jermaine Pratt makes a great play, bounces right into Aguilar's hands. And I saw people even blaming Jordan Battle. He should have been in position. Yeah, but sometimes that's football. So sometimes that's the way it bounces. And with this defense, you guys understand. And I'll say this. When the Bengals bring pressure, it works. It worked against CJ Stroud. It worked against Lamar Jackson. That was one of my biggest takeaways from this game is, hey, listen, you're going to have to take chances. On third down, there's going to be times where you've got to rush 7. So in my opinion, from what I've seen out of this Bengals, their biggest issues haven't been from when they've rushed 7. It's been when they've rushed 3 and the entire defense sitting back and allows the quarterback to have 4, 5, 6 seconds to throw. And you also don't spy the quarterback. So in my opinion, I don't think that you've got to go more, you can definitely go more press coverage, but sitting back, I don't think that's the answer. So
I think you bring up a fair point.
Someone was asking, do you think the Bengals should trade for a quarterback? The trade deadline's passed, but should they try to pick someone up?
No, I mean, at this point, you got to roll with what you got. Anybody that you're bringing out at this point is probably going to be learning the offense on the fly. And I just think that you got to just try. Listen, that the time to have gotten a quarterback passed.
Yeah.
Right. So
you had your chance.
But let's all wait and see what happens with Joe Burrow's injury. I don't want to, the jury, we're still waiting on understanding more about that.
Yeah, we can get a couple more. Nick Fox said, thoughts on the catch.
No, I was laughing.
He said, thoughts on the catch that was overturned. I need to go back and rewatch. I thought he caught it.
I thought that was a catch, man. I'll be real with y'all. I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe I'm just, a young, old soul, but I personally think if a receiver catches the ball and he has the ball and he hits the ground and the ball then falls out, I think that should still be a catch personally. I don't know why the receiver has to catch the ball, go to the ground, roll over, and then at no point in then that. By the way, after they were contacted, I think if you catch the ball, you get contacted, you go to the ground, that's a catch. I don't think any of this, catching the ball, touch, rolls over, then has to maintain possession or it's an incomplete pass. I think that's completely crazy. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that Trent Irwin's catch was overturned. That, to me, that's just stupid.
And the hard part for me understanding is that the rest of the season, it's been, hey, it has to be definitive to overturn. In my opinion, that wasn't necessarily definitive. We got questions about the offseason, but T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. We got two people, Bain and AK Icy, saying offseason question with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins contract. should we let them go and go get pass rush help and or draft a wide receiver early in the draft?
I won't answer that question, but you should know by me not answering that question what I think.
Yeah.
But I could tell you right now, the Bengals defy complete logic. I see a world, what I believe is going to happen. I believe T. Higgins gets franchise tagged. I think that Tyler Boyd is probably gone. And I think they try to negotiate with Higgins and go from there. That's what I think happens.
Sticking with offseason real quick, Seagriff142 said, use more of the draft picks on offense or defense.
I think this team is still in a spot where you got to draft best player available.
Yep.
I think you still draft best player available. Now, certainly if a 3-tech is staring you in the face and, that's a spot, or like, let's say a very good tight end is staring you in the face and that's a spot, right? Now, I think that they've learned their lesson about the tight end position, but who knows? Jalen Hurts can come on strong and be the guy at 29 years old of the future. Future meaning three years.
Yeah, and guys, the draft also, it's far in the future, but it's most of the time it's best player available. You saw how this year played out too. Miles Murphy, best player available. But Akia, the Bengals logic. Obviously, we had our discussion
with Sam Laporta now killing it. Right?
Yeah, that's seeing Sam Laporta kill it sucks, man. I mean, we got Tanner Hudson and Irv Smith, so
yeah.
Akia the Great said, is there a disconnect in Zach Taylor's offensive philosophy and Joe Burrow's offensive philosophy?
I wouldn't know unless, obviously trying to, like, we know what Joe Burrow likes, of course, but that's a good question. I think that I like to think that the head coach tailors his philosophy towards the liking of the quarterback. That's what I'd like to think. And I'd like to think that's what Joe would Zach Taylor has done, just judging based upon what he did when he first was here in Cincinnati versus when Joe Burrow got here. Or when I say got here, I mean after his rookie year from coming off the ACL tear. It seemed like they wanted to have him more in shotgun situations coming off of the ACL tear, and obviously building an offense that was more suitable to his liking. And they've just never gone back to what they did originally. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, yeah, we've talked that this offense. I just want to see Burrow healthy and see how it, because like you said, it was working today, man. Chicken Genius 420 said, I hope you guys enjoy the holidays. We hope you enjoy the holidays as well, man.
Enjoy the holidays too, man. I plan to grill a turkey this year.
Got the turkey.
We got the turkey today. I think we named him.
We did not decide on a name, not yet.
We wanted to name a turkey name. I think there was.
What'd you say? You said Sheldon, I think.
Sheldon.
I said Timmy. Marissa, I forgot.
I forgot what she said. I forgot what she said the name was, but
something.
Yeah, I'm excited. We definitely are. We definitely are excited for Thanksgiving.
You want to get some more?
Let's answer like 2 more. And yes, the W. I do remember you saying Lamar was coming. Congratulations on your victory. Go get some sleep, man.
Jim Gagner said, I don't think you guys have addressed this yet, but Brad Robbins didn't have his best game to yet. Flipping the field and field position battle is an issue. Let me just say, first off, Charlie Jones, again, showed some bright spots. I know he didn't have an amazing punt return, but he had a couple nice ones. He showed some flashes once again. So, Charlie Jones, I liked it. Thoughts on Brad and Charlie?
Brad, man, I don't know. Shaky. Brad was inconsistent. But yeah, man, Chuck Cesar brought some juice back, so it was good to see him back out there. Sorry, guys, I am tired, but I'm still going.
We can go to our guy. We'll run it back with Jim Gagner. He said something more positive. Who was the Bengals offensive player of the game, and who was the Bengals defensive player of the game?
Joe Mixon is the offensive player of the game. I think you have to say, well, there are 2 people you could say for defensive player of the game, and I think those 2 people have to be Jordan Battle.
Yep.
And I'm going to throw one out there for you. Miles Murphy made a splash a lot, man. So, you know what? I'm going to say Logan Wilson. I'm going to say Logan Wilson and Jordan Battle.
Yeah, I think, and just once again, Miles Murphy, guys, if you look at the stats, it's not going to tell you anything. When you watch the game, there was multiple times where he pressured on his side, forced Lamar to go out to the left, forced Lamar to step up in the pocket. That's all you can hope for. And obviously still young, so still see. I think
Somebody said, please don't name the turkey, man.
we've got to name it, bro. We've got to name offense player. I'd say Mixon or Hudson, and
Mixon 100%.
Yeah, and I think defense, Jordan Battle or Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson made some big plays too. So we can go to one more. What's your thoughts on? I'm sorry, I'm kind of with you here. What's your thoughts on predict the Bengals versus Steelers game if you had to predict right now?
Gotta see if Joe Burrow plays or not.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. If Joe Burrow doesn't play, I think the Steelers could beat the Bengals. I'm just being honest. I think that their defense can provide enough issues to Jake Brown and confuse him. Like, it's one thing to be thrusted in there when a team is not really expecting much of you, but when a team has the game plan for you, it's tough. The thing about these games are those teams always play the Bengals tough, even with Joe Burrow in there. So in a spot, and let's say where Jake Browning has to start, it'll be a tough game. So you'd like to say the Bengals can still win that game, but it'll be tough regardless, right? It'll be tough regardless. Let's just wait to see the severity of Joe Burrow's injury and if he misses time, and then go from there. I'm sure we'll have more of an update, State of the Jungle, obviously, when that rolls around next week, and we'll be able to talk more and more about that. But on the bright side, guys, I want to let you guys, I want to ask you guys, if you guys can do us a favor, give this video a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We can't do any of this without you. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every single post game with us, and obviously Wednesdays for State of the Jungle. Hold your heads up. This isn't the end all be all. It's a lot more food on the plate. I'll say that, and I hope that you guys have a really, really good Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family, enjoy it with your friends, and eat a lot of food. And then we'll get back up on the old saddle next week and try to have a bounce back game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we appreciate you guys. Until next time, we'll see you guys live from the First Star Logistics Studio. But until then, who dat?